If I sound sick, it's because I am. And I'm honestly blaming Bill Gates for all of this, but what are you gonna do? So we left the topic at Zionism last time, and let's start from there. Zionism is comprised of two parts. First is Zion, second is Ism, or other people call it Zion. Zion comes from the Hebrew word Zion, which means a mountain in the Holy Land, which the whole town is named after. And it can also refer to Eden or in the utopia. Of course, the ism part just means that it's an ideology. Zionism, or Zionism as my generation likes to call it, is the idea that the Jewish people are entitled to a homeland. But where should their home be, and why exactly Palestine? There are a couple reasons, if not a bunch, why. Ask any Zionist today and they will tell you God promised them that land, that's why. But if we go back 100 years in history, we will find that many countries were on the table at the time to be chosen as a homeland for the Jewish people. And many of these countries are ex-British colonies. And it really wasn't hard for Britain to give them one of their ex-colonies because, well, they had full control of that. They had settlements in it. And two, they were already looking for kicking out Jewish people out of, their borders. So if the trash is taken itself, why not? And so that's why they give them, big helping hand to help them relocate to a different place. The selection ended on Palestine. You see, it was hard for the Zionists at the time to convince, Britain to do the dividing and the displacement and the arming, and also the moving of the Jewish people to the Holy Land. So they needed a reason to convince them and the public. And saying something like, we just want the Jews out, isn't something that the public would accept. So you needed to romanticize that by saying things, well, we're just sending them back to where they came from and they're really happy to go back. That's where a long Zionist speech came into play in New York.
I would say to England, if I could, an Arab Palestine is a threat to Great Britain and a menace to the world. A Jewish Palestine is an asset to Great Britain and a blessing for the world.
Where it talks about being the presence, the eyes, the ears, the foothold of the Western powers in the Middle East. And why it should be the Jewish people to do it, and how it's a really strategic location. But why Palestine? Well, for one, Palestine is next to Egypt, the last African country to the east, and the beginning of the Arab Muslim world. It's a strategic location that shares an ocean with Europe, and it is connected to both Asia and Africa. And let's not forget the Suez Canal. Two, obviously because of its religious value. Whether you believe that the Zionists are atheists or not, they're still using religion to advance in what they want to accomplish. And they're still going to cosplay as religious people and do what religious people in that situation would do, which is, in that case, demolishing the Al-Aqsa Mosque to build their third temple. Let's talk about everything wrong with Zionism. It's a movement that is really, really based on lies. They lied to the Jewish people and told them, come here, it's really safe. But at the same time, they're constantly bombing everybody and everybody else is bombing them. That doesn't sound safe. Lying in brainwashing the Western media into believing that they are a peaceful country, that they are really, really good, and everybody just seems to hate them for some reason. The fact that it's settler colonialism and it's based on kicking out people from their homelands and from their homes. Also genocide, eraser of culture and history, and a lot of thefts, like a lot. Slogans such as land with no people, or people with no land. The fact that the person who created it was an atheist and he romanticized it through religion. The fact that God's promise was on hold all this time. Let's not forget white supremacy. You ask, why is it so bad, white supremacy? Remember when feeding black kids to crocodiles was a sport and that they had human zoos for black people? Do you want that back? Israel stands for everything bad the world thought it had moved on from. Colonialism, genocide, hatred, racism, supremacy, the Holocaust of people, injustice, the ICC, the UN, the international law. All of that was rendered to nothing. It has been rendered to zero if a resolution can be vetoed in the face of an urgent massacre, turning the UN into a joke. But Then it just goes to show that the UN is just part of fabrication of reality. It's as if we just want to keep an image that law and democracy exists, but then go again to use those laws for the benefit of only certain countries. Let's talk about the importance of having a narrative. You must have heard it. Narrative, narrative, narrative. Like everywhere. Israeli narrative, American, Hamas narrative. Everybody has a narrative. But what is that? Narrative or propaganda, if it's coming from the other side, it's the storytelling of events from a very biased point of view that tries to tap into nationalism or religion, and sometimes the pity of the listener. So there wouldn't be any objections or boycotts in case the country wants to go into a war that people don't want to go into. And it's very important to have one for when the history will be written, because remember, it's the winners that write history. So both parties need to have a version of events that will, whenever one of them wins, is going to be the one that's written and solidified in history. In a way, it is a falsification and warping of reality to, find a motive or a reason to act. The truth. The truth in reality is whatever the situation needs it to be. And the scary part about the truth is when people take a concept and dissect it and start to nitpick in it to take only the things that will benefit them. Is it true that God told the Jews to go to the Holy Land? Yes. But it's also true that God made them get lost in a desert for 40 years so they don't get to the Holy Land. And everybody just seems to forget about that part. And after that, God decreed that they become a diaspora and that they never have a nation of their own. And that, with many other examples, is the warping of truth in reality. Such as the example of Israel has the right to defend itself. Under what law? No law in the world says that it does. Jewish citizens are caught in a web of lies. Lying and manipulations are key skills when you are a prostitute. But Israel is not a prostitute, it's more of a bastard that doesn't belong where it is. And when you are an Israeli, you are breastfed these lies since birth. That you're better, you deserve 400 Arab servants. You know names of weapons from childhood and you threat others with death since you're a kid.
פגש בשנה האחרונה ילד ערבי.
איפה פגשת ילד ערבי? ליד הכותל.
דיברת איתו?
לא, הוא דחף אותי, אבל לא הלך.
ומה קורה כשאתם רואים ילד ערבי? מה אתם מרגישים?
רגשות זעם.
זעם? מה קורה כשאתם...
Want them dead. You don't even know what death is. And then you go to write your birthday wish on a missile that will be dropped on a residential area that houses kids just like you. You're taught to fear the dirty, uneducated Arabs, and that your country is better, safer, and wouldn't hurt them. Meanwhile, your big aspiration is to create a greater Israel, which will eventually mean having to bomb every country surrounding yours. When you talk about killing as a kid, it's not because you know that. It's not because you came to that conclusion yourself. It's because somebody taught you that.
Now, if you know there's a terrorist in a building, and this terrorist will kill many Jews, it's just a matter of time, because that's what he does all his life. And there's an opportunity to throw a bomb on his head. But maybe a few Arab kids will get hurt. And they say, well, the kids are innocent. How are you going to kill 2, 3, 8 kids that are there in a building? They're going to get killed. So the answer is, if you don't kill those supposedly innocent kids, what would happen later? This one would kill 50 Jews. They will become terrorists, one way or the other. So that's what the Torah says. Someone is on the way to kill you now or in a year from now, you can kill him even now a year.
And then when you actually go and do it, you hate yourself for it. And eventually probably go insane. You are taught that your blood is more precious and it's better than the Arab's blood. It doesn't matter how much of theirs is spilled. But again, you live under a country that practices the Hannibal doctrine, which is basically if there are hostages, just kill the hostages so they're not used as pawns against you.
There's 2 men, 2 women, handcuffed. And inside this house were another 15 burned people, among them 8 babies in this home. They were concentrated them and they killed them and they burned them. Our tanks attack.
Fired on them.
Yeah, because they were blocked in these houses and we need to conquer back the whole settlement. And it couldn't be happened without...
Just like on the 7th of October, where Israel shot its own people. And the fact that the only hostages they found so far, they killed themselves. We all saw the major role that media played in this genocide. One can even say that it's thanks to the media that there are huge protests going on all over the world. Media made the Palestinian cause not only an Arab cause, not only a Muslim cause, but a worldwide humanitarian cause. It broke us from the bubble we used to live in of, make money, impress people, buy this, buy that. And that glittery, shiny reality that was in front of us is shattered. And we finally see the truth, the ugly reality of this world. It also has shown us the price that people have to pay to maintain this shiny false reality. And now, many people know at least one Palestinian by name. Many people care for a Palestinian. Many people have shed a tear for a Palestinian. Many people felt sad and happy with and for a Palestinian. An entire generation is fighting for a tiny strip in this globe that has gone unnoticed for the longest time. Warping in fabrication of reality. When you kill an artist, when you kill a journalist, when you bribe politicians and newspapers and judges, when you're stealing a culture and claiming it to be yours, the people responsible for telling the truth can be fired if they say something that goes against you. You are participating in creating a reality that is schizophrenic, imaginary, that doesn't care for facts or truth, where the powerful reigns supreme. In the weak, even if they do have merits, go unnoticed and marginalized. And in reality, that looks like Israel appropriating the Palestinian culture, cuisine, culture, music, food, clothes. It also looks like the erasure of history by erasing old buildings, temples, churches, castles. And the horror continues. Regardless of why it happened, it needs to stop. We need justice. You understand that the world will be a very, very, very scary world if Israel gets away with what it's doing. I will end this video here. I'm not sure if I should make another video on Gaza or not. Let me know. I'll end this one here. Bye-bye.